ancient Hebrew text says that the eyes of the Lord run to and fro throughout the whole earth to show himself strong on behalf of those whose heart is loyal to him. He seemed to have found such a man. His name was Abram, son of Terah, from Ur of the Chaldees. According to the ancient writings, one day God appeared to Abram and spoke the words that would give birth to the nation of Israel. God told Abram, "Get out of your country, from your family, from your father's house, to a land that I will show you. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great. I will establish my covenant as an everlasting covenant between me and your descendants, to be your God. The whole land of Canaan I will give as an everlasting possession to you and your descendants. I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse him who curses you. And in you all the nations of the earth will be blessed. You will no longer be called Abram. Your name will be Abraham, for I have made you a father of many nations." Can you imagine how impossible this promise must have seemed to Abraham? Nevertheless, in total faith, Abraham said, "Hineni, here am I," to the call of God. In obedience to the vision, he and his family began the long journey to Canaan, the land he believed God had said would become his home. And the generations of Abraham to follow would grow to be a great nation, the children of Israel, the people of the promise. Before that promise was realized, Israel would endure hundreds of years of brutal slavery in Egypt. But in the midst of their suffering, a Hebrew named Moses, exiled in the mountains of Midian, one day saw a vision of God in a burning bush. In his own Hineni, here am I moment, Moses accepted the call to lead his people out of bondage. Just before he died, God took Moses to a high point overlooking Canaan and showed him the promised land. Though Moses never entered it himself, the children of Israel were about to see the promise to Abraham fulfilled. Battles would be fought, miracles would be recorded, victories would be celebrated. Ultimately, Israel would occupy the land just as it had been promised. It was Israel's golden age. It would not last. Not every generation would serve or even believe the covenant of the promise. In 70 AD, Roman legions marched on Jerusalem. The city was sacked. The great temple burned to the ground. 1 million Jews were slaughtered. Most of the rest were marched away into captivity. The kingdom of Israel was no more. The promise seemed to be over. But was it? Hundreds of years before, the prophet Ezekiel was at prayer one day. Ezekiel found himself standing before a valley filled with dry bones, human bones. As the prophet gazed upon the scene, God asked him if the bones could live, to which Ezekiel wisely replied, "O Lord God, you know." What happened then must have been quite a sight to behold. God told Ezekiel to speak to the bones and command them to live. The prophet later wrote, "So I prophesied as I was commanded, and as I was prophesying, there was a noise, a rattling sound, and the bones came together, bone to bone. I looked, and tendons and flesh appeared on them, and skin covered them. Then he said to me, "These are the people of Israel, my people. I am going to open your graves and bring you up from them. I will bring you back to the land of Israel." God told Ezekiel this was the house of Israel. Just as these dry, dead bones had been restored to life, so Israel would be restored. As the nation of Israel settled in exile among the nations, the prayer continued year after year around the world. Next year in Jerusalem. But as the years became decades, then centuries, for many, the promise seemed more and more a distant dream of the past, little more. Most of the Jews resigned themselves to building new lives among the nations where they had gone. More often, they encountered rejection, persecution, even faced death at the hands of those who did not believe the promise, and, if they did, had no intention of letting it be fulfilled. Yet, the Jews found others who believed in the ancient prophecies, who offered their help to see it fulfilled. In their own way, like the patriarchs of old, when their time came, they too would say, "Here am I to the promise and the people of the land of Israel." They would be called Christian Zionists.